July 30th, 1975. A sweltering afternoon in suburban Detroit. A powerful man, a titan of American labor, stepped out for a lunch meeting and vanished without a trace. No body, no confession, just a chilling silence that has echoed for nearly 50 years. This wasn't just any missing person case. This was Jimmy Hoffa, the legendary, feared, and adored leader of the Teamsters Union. A man who controlled billions of dollars and commanded an army of over 2 million members. And a man, it was widely believed, who made a fatal error by crossing the wrong people.
The officers of our union lead us to believe that this bill...
His disappearance became the most enduring mystery of the 20th century. A tale woven with threads of power, corruption, betrayal, and the sinister influence of the American Mafia. What really happened to Jimmy Hoffa, and how deeply were the secrets of his life intertwined with the deadliest forces in America? To understand his vanishing, we must first understand his rise, a journey that began not in the shadows, but in the gritty, working-class streets of the Midwest. James Riddle Hoffa was born in Brazil, Indiana, in 1913. His father, a coal miner, died young, forcing Jimmy and his family to move to Detroit, Michigan, in search of work. It was here, amidst the burgeoning automotive industry and the struggles of the working class, that Hoffa's story truly began. At just 14, he dropped out of school to work, hauling groceries at a local warehouse. It was hard, grueling work for little pay, but it was here that Hoffa witnessed firsthand the brutal exploitation of laborers, the long hours, dangerous conditions, and meager wages. The year was 1932, the Great Depression was raging, and workers had few rights. Hoffa, with his natural charisma and fiery determination, quickly became a voice for his fellow laborers. He organized his first strike in that very warehouse, demanding better conditions. It was a risky move, but it worked. This early victory solidified his belief in the power of collective action. He soon joined the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, a fledgling union for truck drivers. Hoffa was a natural leader, known for his relentless energy and his willingness to fight for his members. He quickly rose through the ranks, organizing drivers across the Midwest, often facing down company thugs and anti-union violence. He was fearless, a brawler when necessary, but also a brilliant negotiator. But the path to power in the rough-and-tumble world of union organizing wasn't always clean. To build an empire as vast as the Teamsters, Hoffa would need allies. And some of those allies came from the darkest corners of American society. How would these dangerous connections ultimately shape his destiny? The Teamsters Union grew at an astonishing rate under Hoffa's influence. He understood that controlling transportation meant controlling the flow of goods across the nation. He wasn't just organizing truck drivers, he was building an economic superpower. Hoffa was a master negotiator, securing unprecedented wages, benefits, and working conditions for his members. He delivered results, and his loyalty to the rank and file earned him their fierce devotion. They called him Little Caesar, a nod to his stature and his iron will. But to achieve this massive expansion, Hoffa needed muscle, influence, and access to capital that conventional unions couldn't provide. This is where the lines blurred between legitimate labor and organized crime. The Mafia, particularly the Detroit and Chicago outfits, saw an opportunity. The Mafia had a vested interest in controlling unions for various reasons, extorting businesses, infiltrating industries, and most importantly, gaining access to the Teamsters' enormous pension fund. Hoffa, ever pragmatic, saw them as a necessary evil, a tool to achieve his goals. The Teamsters' Central States Pension Fund became a veritable goldmine. Worth billions, it was a massive pool of money that could be loaned out for development projects and diverted into the pockets of Mafia associates and their dubious ventures. Hoffa wielded incredible political power. He could cripple industries with a strike, influence elections, and even challenge presidents. He was a force of nature, straddling the worlds of labor, business, and the shadowy underworld. But his growing power and his undeniable ties to the Mafia did not go unnoticed. A young, ambitious attorney general named Robert F. Kennedy launched a relentless crusade to bring Hoffa down, publicly declaring him a corrupting force. Kennedy and Hoffa became bitter enemies, locked in a brutal personal and legal war. Hoffa faced multiple indictments for bribery, fraud, and jury tampering. He was powerful, but even he couldn't escape the law forever. What would be the ultimate cost of his dangerous alliances? Despite his legal troubles, Jimmy Hoffa reached the zenith of his power. In 1957, he became the international president of the Teamsters Union, controlling an organization that touched nearly every aspect of American commerce. He was a superstar of the labor movement, adored by his members who saw him as their tireless champion. He projected an image of a tough but fair leader, capable of anything for his union. However, the cost of his ascent was deep entanglement with the Mafia. Mobsters had gained significant influence within the union, leveraging the pension fund for their own illicit ventures, from Las Vegas casinos to real estate deals. Hoffa, by all accounts, lived comfortably, but not extravagantly for a man of his power. His true wealth was in his influence, his control over the Teamsters, and the billions flowing through the pension fund, a fund that served as both his greatest asset and his ultimate vulnerability. In 1964, after years of tireless pursuit by Robert Kennedy, Hoffa was finally convicted of jury tampering and pension fraud. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison. The king of the Teamsters was behind bars. His incarceration created a power vacuum. Frank Fitzsimmons, Hoffa's chosen successor, took control of the union, but it quickly became clear that the Mafia's grip on the Teamsters only tightened in Hoffa's absence. Hoffa, stewing in prison, was furious. He felt betrayed by Fitzsimmons and feared the Mafia was systematically looting the union he had built. He knew that if he ever got out, he would fight to reclaim his power. In 1971, President Richard Nixon commuted Hoffa's sentence on the condition that he would not engage in union activities until 1980. But Hoffa was not a man to be told what he could or could not do. He was coming for his union, and the Mafia knew it. What fatal confrontation awaited him on the outside? Released from prison, Hoffa wasted no time in attempting to regain control of the Teamsters. He launched a public campaign, rallying his loyalists and openly challenging Fitzsimmons and the mobsters who had taken over. This posed a direct threat to the Mafia's lucrative control over the pension fund. Hoffa knew where all the bodies were buried, both literally and figuratively. He was a walking threat, and the mob didn't tolerate threats. Key Mafia figures, particularly Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano from New Jersey and Russell Bufalino from Pennsylvania, were furious with Hoffa's attempts to reclaim power. Hoffa had once been an ally, but now he was a problem that needed to be permanently solved. Hoffa attempted to arrange a peace meeting with these powerful mobsters, hoping to broker a deal for his return to the Union. He believed he could still negotiate his way back to the top. That fateful day, July 30th, 1975, Hoffa was scheduled to meet with Provenzano and Bufalino, along with Detroit mobster Anthony Giacalone, at the Machu's Red Fox restaurant. He arrived, made a phone call to his wife, and waited. The men never showed. Hoffa grew impatient. He made another call, saying he'd been stood up. He was last seen walking towards a car in the parking lot, a car he seemingly recognized. And then, silence. Jimmy Hoffa vanished into thin air. The FBI launched one of the most extensive investigations in history, digging up countless properties, chasing down thousands of leads. But his body was never found. The consensus is that he was murdered by the Mafia, a powerful warning to anyone who dared to cross them. But the precise details, the exact location of his final resting place, remain one of America's most enduring and chilling unsolved mysteries. His ghost still haunts the halls of power, but what legacy did he leave behind? The disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa left an indelible mark on American labor, law enforcement, and popular culture. He remains a symbol of both the immense power of unions and the corrupting influence of organized crime. His story has been immortalized in books and films, forever cementing his place as a legendary, tragic figure. The phrase "Where's Hoffa" has become a cultural touchstone, representing the ultimate unsolved puzzle. The truth about Jimmy Hoffa's deadly secrets, and the final moments of his life, remain buried somewhere in the vast, silent archives of Mafia history. A chilling reminder that some secrets are meant to stay hidden, forever guarded by the grave.